I'm William James Bright, Crusade for America. A few short weeks ago, I promised you that we would take concrete actions to prepare ourselves for the tough times that may lay ahead. But first, I want to thank Senator Ted Cruz for making it clear that he will vote for Donald Trump. We just had called out Jeb, Kasich, and Ted about not keeping their word to support the Republican candidate. Ted, you kept your word. I thank you, and you can count on me for support in the future. Now, why is this important? Because what I learned in Panama fighting the dictatorship is that we have to embrace those that have opposed us in the past but have reconsidered and decided to join our cause. Pettiness and egos must be checked at the door. So Minutemen and Minutewomen of this country, fellow Crusaders for America, you can live on your knees or stand up with me. We've been down this road before, prior to 1776 and 1861, prior to our War of Independence and our Civil War. Today, once again, our house is divided, balkanized, with about half of our citizens taking handouts from the government, lobbyists buying and selling our politicians at will, and we're no better than the third world countries we criticize. It takes great courage to think of something greater than oneself, and I fear that in this me world in which we live in, courage may be in short supply. Now, the sources of concern are many, from the importation of terrorists and illegals to the worst race relations since the 60s, not by acts of God or fueled by need and necessity, but orchestrated and paid for by the government, media tech titans, and a special spotlight on George Soros. With 30 to 60 million illegals in this country, there will be no shortage of grief for American families over these coming decades. Everything from accidental car crashes to mass murder, increased vicious gang activity, rapists, and terrorists. Our economic future in shambles, $19.5 trillion in debt, nearing $200 trillion in unfunded mandates, 1 in 6 Americans out of work, worst record of growth in decades, and the bad economic news goes on and on. Now, why would blacks feel angry in America? 18 trillion spent on programs that were supposed to help them, but the results speak for themselves. Living in war zone conditions, surrounded by the dregs of criminal society, turf wars by the block, they await for the master to fix things. But the master is close to being broke. Our favorite son Obama, Chicago's homeboy, with over 3,000 dead and 3,000 casualties this year alone, keeping guns out of the hands of good and decent blacks while selling the illusion that gun control will stop the slaughter of their families, a price they pay in blood. Genocidal numbers of abortions, 60 million since Roe v. Wade, matching the number of dead in World War II. An overwhelming number of those in the black community. 80% of violent crimes in America committed on blacks by blacks. Illegals taking their jobs, doing it for less. The breakup of the family unit. They being led by race-based profiteers. Jesse, fix Chicago before you criticize Charlotte. Media inflaming passions based on fiction, not fact. Millions poured into funding protests, training agitators, sending thugs to burn down your businesses and destroy your neighbors. So we can understand their siege mentality. Attack from within and without, failed policies, foreigners taking their jobs, funding anarchy, their children murdered by the millions. Who would not be upset? Foreign threats surround us, Russia, China, most of the Arab countries, and Islam as the common denominator. North Korea, Cuba, and Venezuela, whose progressive policies have the masses starving, ever-increasing terrorist attacks worldwide and here at home. We are perceived as weak and vulnerable, turning our back on our friends, embracing our enemies, and providing the world's #1 sponsor of terrorism the path to a nuclear bomb. Starting a nuclear race in the most unstable region on Earth. Scary stuff. The dangers are real. We cannot fix all these problems, but we can take care of business here at home in our own backyard. I would appreciate you taking a look at our Crusader for America series on Facebook under Bill Bright or William Bright, or on YouTube under William James Bright. I hope that you will subscribe on YouTube, and we can sure use your financial help via PayPal, or we can also be contacted via email at williamjamesbright@yahoo.com. That's BRIGHT, or by phone at 321-821-1541. Thank you.